What's the difference between a policy proposal and a presidential directive? Sometimes it's just the words used to frame it. Today we're diving into how modern presidents use specific language patterns to expand their perceived authority, and why these magic phrases work so effectively on both supporters and critics. I'm Eon Myth, and in this video, we're going to analyze the psychology and political strategy behind presidential messaging. We'll look at how certain phrases and framing techniques can make executive actions seem more legitimate, urgent, or necessary, regardless of their actual legal standing. This isn't about partisan politics. It's about understanding how language shapes power in modern democracy. Every president uses specific linguistic tools to project authority, but some are more systematic about it than others. Let's break down the most common patterns. The president's priorities. This phrase appears constantly in government communications. It's brilliant because it transforms policy preferences into seemingly official mandates. When an agency says they're acting on the president's priorities, it sounds more authoritative than saying, "This is what the president wants." Urgency language watch for phrases like immediate action required, critical national interests, or emergency measures. These create a sense that normal procedures should be bypassed because the situation demands it. Inevitability. Framing language that suggests actions are inevitable or already decided. The administration will move forward. This directive ensures the president has determined. It's not, "We're considering," it's, "This is happening." Why do these phrases work so well? It comes down to three psychological principles. Authority bias. We're hardwired to defer to authority figures. When something is framed as coming directly from the highest office, our brains automatically assign it more weight and legitimacy even before we evaluate the actual content. Cognitive shortcuts. Most people don't have time to research every policy detail, so we use mental shortcuts. If it sounds official and comes from an authoritative source, we assume it must be legally sound and properly authorized. The illusion of inevitability. When actions are presented as already decided rather than proposed, it shifts the debate. Instead of asking, "Should we do this?" people start asking, "How will this affect me?" The fundamental legitimacy question gets skipped. This isn't a new phenomenon. Every modern president has pushed the boundaries of executive authority through messaging. FDR's fireside chats created direct communication that bypassed Congress and traditional media, establishing precedent for presidential direct appeals. Nixon's executive privilege became a catch-all phrase to shield administration actions from oversight. Obama's phone and pen strategy explicitly positioned executive orders as alternatives to legislative gridlock. Trump's America First became a justification framework that could be applied to almost any policy decision. The pattern is clear. Presidents use unifying, patriotic, or urgent language to frame their actions as beyond normal political debate. Here's where it gets interesting and concerning. The Constitution gives presidents significant but limited powers. However, public perception of presidential power has grown far beyond these constitutional limits. What presidents actually control: foreign policy implementation, federal agency direction, military command, appointment powers, veto authority, what they don't control, but often claim influence over, congressional legislation, state and local policies, private sector decisions, individual citizen behaviors. The media plays a crucial role in either amplifying or challenging these language patterns. Amplification happens when outlets report presidential statements without contextualizing their actual legal authority. President announces new policy versus President proposes policy requiring congressional approval. Challenge occurs when journalists consistently ask, "Does the president have the legal authority to do this?" And "What specific mechanisms will implement this?" Public response varies dramatically based on partisan alignment. Supporters tend to interpret expansive language as strong leadership. Critics see it as overreach. Both responses can miss the fundamental constitutional questions. Understanding these language patterns isn't academic. It's essential for democratic citizenship. When we automatically defer to authoritative-sounding language without asking basic questions about legal authority and constitutional limits, we're participating in the erosion of checks and balances. Questions every citizen should ask: Does the president have the constitutional authority to do this? Is this being implemented through proper legal channels? What oversight mechanisms apply? Are there alternative interpretations of this authority? The goal isn't to oppose everything. It's to maintain the healthy skepticism that democracy requires. Presidential language isn't neutral. Every administration uses specific phrases and framing techniques to expand their perceived authority and shape public opinion. Recognizing these patterns doesn't make you partisan. It makes you a more informed citizen. The magic phrases work because they exploit our psychological tendencies to defer to authority and accept official-sounding language as legitimate. But democracy depends on citizens who ask hard questions about actual authority, not just perceived authority. Whether you support or oppose any particular president, understanding how language shapes power helps you evaluate actions based on their constitutional merits rather than their rhetorical packaging. What do you think? Have you noticed these language patterns in political communications? Share your observations in the comments, and let's have a respectful discussion about how we can all become better at recognizing when rhetoric is being used to bypass normal democratic processes. If this analysis was helpful, consider subscribing for more deep dives into how politics, psychology, and communication intersect. And check out my video on how media framing affects public opinion. It's the perfect follow-up to this discussion. Thanks for watching, and remember, democracy works best when citizens think critically about power, no matter who's wielding it.